Welcome back to the Creative Encounter Podcast. I am your host, Juiette, and we are back for episode 12. Yes, this is episode 12, and I have an amazing guest here, my guy, Juan Carlos Baez, also known as JC Baez. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Juiette. Good to see you.
So good to see you. Me and my guy, we have not connected. We just mentioned it's been almost 10 years since the last time we hung out.
Yeah.
And that's horrible.
That is. Except for that time that we saw each other at the theater, and that was fleeting.
We saw each other for a hot second at the movie theater, and that was about it. But it's like I had to get him in here because he's an amazing artist, gifted, led by the Holy Spirit. Amazing. You can see some of the pieces in the room even as we speak. But man, before we dive in, I do want to mention, remember, we are on multiple platforms. So we are on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe. Spotify, please go ahead and follow us on there. And then also on Apple Podcasts and pretty much all the platforms that have podcasts. We are there. So please follow us and comment and let us know how you're liking the podcast. So Juan, my guy, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks so much for coming because, I mean, I see your art all the time and I'm just inspired, dude. It's like, you are like the definition, I feel, of just going hard. You know, like I hear some people kind of tell me like I do different things, you know, a lot of things. I'm like, no, like, my guy Juan is like goes hard with this thing, you know, and I just see your creativity, how you just execute, like you just have a gift of execution. It's just amazing, you know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to know, like, I always go back to like where it all kind of started. Like, when did you see your gift as an artist, as a creative, and when did you feel like you could really just venture out into it, you know?
Well, my first creative experience was drawing a Batman on the inside of a cover of a Bible when I was 3 years old. You know, so even back then, Batman was
the man.
You know, as I grew older, I wanted to be an astronaut, actually. So that may explain some of my interest in the astronaut paintings that you'll be seeing later. But I in high school, I think that's when I realized, no, I want to do this, you know, and I studied animation, I did storyboarding, but then, you know, once at the Art Institute of Chicago, then I realized, no, I really enjoy painting, and it's and I was really drawn to it, and it's something that I started exploring, and my degree is in fine arts, and drawing and painting, but I still it you know, the way it worked out is that I picked up all these other experiences that I've been able to use, you know, doing in storyboarding, illustration, comics, while still painting. So
that's crazy, dude. Like, I mean, because it's like you have a whole, like, I guess, like repertoire of like works, like from the painting we have. I don't know if you guys can kind of see these things on the table here. We got some I guess comics, or what would you call them, graphic novels? Yeah,
well, both. Yeah. I mean, there's these started out. This one specifically as 3 different issues, comic book, 4 issues, and they were compiled into a graphic novel. That's one that I did with Walter Koenig from Star Trek, the guy who plays Chekhov.
Yeah, no way.
So we worked together on that.
Wow. And what part did he have in there?
He's a writer.
Oh, he's a writer. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wow. Dude, that's insane. And then what about this piece?
This one I did with a rapper from the UK. His name is Akala. Okay. And so it's a really interesting book. This is something I received an email like at 1 a.m. once, and it was like, wait, who's this guy? You know, contacting me, and I looked him up, and I called him the next day, and it was just a really great collaboration. I was working on a project with Peter Gabriel, with the musician, and then so I think his people recommended me for this project. Wow. And so, and it's just great because it's about, you know, the history of black music, the history of hip hop, the history, you know, the blues, and just the origins from all the way from Africa. Yeah. And, you know, so but it's also a narrative about his own life. It's like an autobiography at the same time.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's insane. And we got, you got a bunch, but like, you know, we'll just show you guys a few things here. And we got this right here. Was it say the Journey Internal?
Yes,
the Journey Internal.
That's my latest project that I just went on sale maybe about a month ago. Okay. And it's a collaboration with a band called 6x6. Okay. Who's got different musicians from different bands. There's a band called Saga from Canada, and then there was I don't know if you remember Emerson, Lake and Palmer from like the '70s, like progressive rock.
Maybe yeah.
So there was an offshoot of that band called Emerson, Berry and Palmer, and Robert Berry, he's the writer on this, and it's a really really fun project to make. It was every chapter relates and corresponds to a song on the album.
Oh, that's so dope. That's so dope. Yeah. So it's probably like, what, 12, 13 chapters?
Yeah, there's 10 and the prologue, so there's 11 chapters.
That's so cool. That's the prologue related to a track as well?
Yeah, well, no, actually, that's the one just kind of introducing the story, and then we go right into the song.
Man, this is so crazy. So it seems like you kind of connect with different types of artists. So like you, I see like a theme with like musicians.
Yeah.
And then those musicians are kind of veering off and becoming writers as well. Yeah. I mean, which makes sense. We're songwriters,
exactly.
So it's like kind of, I have some, it's crazy. I didn't even put that together, but I have some ideas for just books. I haven't thought of like anything like this, but just books in the future. So I wonder if that has a lot to do with it, because it's a songwriter. Yeah, that's interesting. That's
cool. I used to have a band years ago.
No way.
So Pneumatica.
What do you play? Guitar?
Actually, I was playing a little keyboard, but I really just sang and played the harmonica. It was kind of like
a sing,
well, not anymore. That was that was a while back.
Next episode.
But I was told that the band sounded a little bit like Roxy Music. It had the kind of rocky, keyboardy kind of sound. So but it was a fun project, dude. But I'm a huge music fan. I'm a huge music. I have a big music collection, and just music inspires me. When I paint, I have to be listening to music. It's just it just feeds my creativity. Yeah. So
I can never understand when like that was me too. It's just like working on art. I studied architecture at UIC. Yeah. So when I was there, like I had to have music playing. Some people needed it to be quiet. I was like, I need music playing. Even when I was reading, like some classes, like I was in what was it, like photography, history, or whatever, things like that. Yeah. I'm literally reading and stuff, and like the music, hearing the lyrics and stuff, and that just like helped me. Like it's like music really helps me to focus.
Oh, I mean, it moves my hand when I sometimes certain paintings, there's a rhythmic element to it because I move my hand to the music, to the rhythm. So.
That's so dope. I love it. And speaking of which, man, let's go to these paintings. So you guys can see this one back here. Let's start with that one on the canvas, on the easel rather.
Yeah.
What is going on here? This is amazing.
This is called The Intercession of the Wordless Groans. Okay. It's about the Holy Spirit interceding for us. And it came out of a sermon I was listening, and I heard that verse, and I got the whole image. This was like a gift. Yeah. I saw it, and I just had to sketch it on a bulletin on the program. Mm-hmm. And when I got home, I started painting it. It was kind of this painting I felt was given to me. Mm-hmm. So that's the story of this.
That's amazing.
Of this painting.
Is this like the original right here?
Yeah.
Wow, this is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And like, where would you say your inspiration comes from? Like, I know that you're a believer. Mm-hmm. You have a heart for God. Yeah. And we mentioned music and things like that, but more so, what sparks, like what moments, like you listen to a sermon, like I start thinking of art through it or whatever. Yeah. Like what are some things that kind of just spark your creativity? Oh,
there's a wide variety of things. I read a lot. I love film. I love science. So there might be those other series of paintings that I do that have the astronauts on them. And so that just stems from my love of exploration of what's out there.
That's it right there.
So I've always been a searcher, spiritually or in terms of I just love space exploration. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was younger. That's
I know, it's crazy. I love it. So we're on the astronaut tip right now.
Okay.
Now I know I put that piece in front, but you got to show them.
The
astronaut piece,
All right. Well, let me go.
This one here. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
This is a piece called a 4-player on the moon, cuatrista en la luna, right?
Luna,
So,
yeah.
you know, cuatro is an instrument, a Puerto Rican instrument, a type of guitar.
Yep.
And so my grandfather was a musician.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So this was, he in 1997, 96, 97, he had a stroke. Mm-hmm. So we brought him to Chicago for treatments.
Yeah.
But being here was like being in a totally different world and a totally different planet. Yeah. He never experienced cold weather.
No, okay, there we go, yeah.
He didn't speak the language. He, where he lived was totally different from, from Chicago. I mean, you've been to Florida or to, California. It's just totally a different environment, physically, geographically. Yep. And so to him, everything was new, and he just felt lost. Yeah. But he brought his cuatro.
Wow.
And it helped him during his recovery, and it helped him to gain some mobility. So I painted him as an astronaut because he was in a different world. Yeah. And what he brought, that culture, his music, the love of his land, of his island, of Puerto Rico. That's what's inside that uniform, that costume, that astronaut suit, kind of keeping him alive.
Phenomenal.
And so So this is a painting in honor of my grandfather.
Dude, I love this. This is so crazy. I love that all these pieces have a story behind it.
Yeah.
Like literally like an actual life story. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, oh wow, this is absolutely insane, dude. I love it. Now, okay, before we get to that next piece.
Yeah.
Now you notice that you say you've done things. You're pretty much international. Would it be fair to say like you're an international artist?
Yeah, I think I can say that. Yeah. I mean, the last big project that I did was for a company in England. It's storyboards for a show for Amazon. Okay, yeah. It's going to be coming up hopefully early next year called Anansi Boys.
Very good.
And
so it's a new show that hasn't dropped yet.
Right.
Like Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's right now in production or post production, and so I did storyboards for it. It's done again by comic book writer Neil Gaiman. He also did Coraline.
Okay. You're
talking about that, and so this is and that we worked. I worked from here, but the production was taking place in England, Scotland,
and you were physically there.
Yeah, I was there.
You were there,
yeah. Last year, yeah, partially for that, but also for other things. So I was in London last.
Wow, that's so cool. And I know you were in. Was it like Jerusalem or
in Rome?
You're in Rome.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. There's a graphic novel on the Apostle Paul, and J.C. Baez is the illustrator here for this as well, so it's just absolutely amazing. So when you open the book, some of the pages you can actually see that you were in Rome, in these actual places that Paul was at, right?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Oh, that was just amazing. Because I wrote it. It's something I wrote it and drew it, and then I have a friend, fellow artist Manuel Avila, and he is the colorist. Or at least we both work in colors, but he does the main the main part of it. But to create, I find it hard to create without experiencing, and I was having a hard time. I knew certain images I had from the biblical texts, but I needed to know more. I needed to know, well, how did it feel when he was walking through this section, or when he was in that cell. And once I saw that he, that cell where he was in Rome is open to the public, I thought, I really would love to go one day. And then my wife surprised me with a trip. God bless her.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, superstar wife right there.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Wow. How long was the trip? About a week or two?
It was just like 4 days. It was like in between, it's just a little holiday from school, and but I really made the most of it, and it really helped, because for example, you see this section here where he's walking, and he's like kind of like tripping You know, it's because I was walking through that same place, and I kind of was tripping because the stones were so uneven. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, no.
So you made it authentic
I really wanted it to make it authentic. I wanted you to feel that you were there with Paul, you know. And the same thing with, like, the photos that I took of, you know, I needed reference material. I could see, you know, you could see it on the internet, but it's not the same as being there and touching the walls that he touched, you know, and being in that same place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Like you literally, your art has that theme, just experience.
Yeah.
Like with this art piece right here, you know, you were saying you were hearing the sermon, you begin to feel what the master's saying, and like it just came to you through that. Yeah. The whole thing with your grandfather is like that was an experience, and then you do your art through that. Absolutely love it. That's so good. So inspirational, you know. Okay, so I know that you have some projects in the works. I know you mentioned the Amazon thing. Are there any other things that are kind of, you know, coming up that may be coming for 2023 or anything like that?
Yeah. I'm working on the next issue of the Paul graphic novel. So there's 3 out. I'm working on the 4th one. Eventually I want to have 7 and then compile them into a graphic novel and then, you know, look for a publisher for it.
Let me ask you real quick before you continue. Yeah. Is this going through literally like the Book of Acts? Like how many of the epistles is it going through that Paul wrote? Like is it kind of going through Romans, Corinthians?
Yeah, it's going to go through the whole thing. It's just like you know, snapshots of different, you know. It's told in a flashback kind of, you know, format. So he's telling the story. Yeah. When he's in, you know, his final days, and then you see it in different, you know, from, you know, different parts of the gospel. You know, Acts and then so I'm also working on the new chapters of the Journey Eternal. So there's 6x6 is working on a new album, and so we're already talking and adapting some of those into new chapters. So good.
That's so dope. I'm loving it.
And then the other project that I have.
Please let's see it.
We're I have a really cool collective, art collective. Yeah. And they're called the Chicago Narratists. Narratists, that's a made up word, right? But it means it's a combination of narrative and artists, right? Because the artists in that collective tell stories through their paintings.
I love it.
And so we've been collaborating with some people.
Holy smokes.
This is a painting called Spectral Mornings. So, and like I was telling you earlier, so this is part of a show that I did in LA with the members of the Chicago Narratists. And so we work with Steve Hackett, who was the guitar player from Genesis, from the band, you know, where Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel were a part of. And so the show had paintings of Genesis and some of his solo songs turned into paintings. You know, they were based on his songs. And so this is one of them. And so this was based on a song, an instrumental, but the song itself is based on a dream that he had passed away, and he was just floating and going to the next world. And so he described it to me, and that's, you know, I decided to turn it into, you know, how they say, you know, people die and they say, oh, and they come back to life. Oh, I saw this tunnel. So I kind of created a tunnel out of the whole landscape. I turned the landscape around and created a tunnel out of it. So everything's reflected.
Right. So dope. Now is it? Yeah, it's literally reflective, right?
Yeah. There's like mirror image. Everything is. Yeah.
Wow, that's so dope, bro. So it's kind of giving the idea like he's spinning around, essentially, like he's flying.
Yeah, or just going through that tunnel into that. Yeah. And so we're trying to get this show now set up somewhere in Chicago. We're looking for a gallery or place.
I better be the first one to know so I can make it.
All right, yeah, definitely. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
Now, did you actually showed this to him?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What did he say?
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, he loved it. He was. I mean, we wanted to make sure this was a true collaboration. So everything that we would do, I would send him sketches, and we discuss. Okay, well, this is how I see it, and he was like, "No, that's great." Or
so it's like an approval process.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it wasn't something required, but I felt out of respect, and you know, we had decided to collaborate. I had met him years ago after a show at the Abbey Pub while he was playing.
Yeah.
An acoustic show, and so you know we back in 2005. So we've been connecting, you know, for quite a while, and it was just a matter of time, I think, till we collaborated on something like this.
It's so dope. Now it's looking like, I mean, you do all these art pieces. I remember one of these you told me just took maybe a couple weeks, maybe the Holy Spirit one. It took a few weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was this one. It was like 3 weeks, like that.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, there were some larger pieces which literally took me like 4 months to do.
Okay, yeah,
because it was so much detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest ones to do.
Holy smokes! Like with me, I don't know if that easy. But like, okay, so even with that, that's showing that you dedicate a lot of hours to your craft.
Yeah.
And what's the whole saying? Was it like 10,000 hours? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah,
They said like to become like an expert or excellent at something. You know, so like I know you've invested countless hours. So this is pretty much what you kind of do fully. So my question is, how do you juggle this? I know that you mentioned that you're also a school teacher, art teacher, obviously, right?
Yeah, art teacher, yeah.
And that's about, I mean, as a teacher, you got the homework afterwards. So
Yeah,
it's not just 8 hours a day.
No, it's not.
You know, so now here's the balance piece, because artists, we need to know, because a lot of people feel like they can't start because like, man, I don't have enough time. That's the big thing we talk about in this podcast is like, you can execute what God is calling you to do. Like, and everyone here is a prime example, you know? So my question is, how do you juggle being an art teacher, doing your own pieces, family, kids, etc.? How do you balance all of it, man?
Man, if I knew, I'd bottle it and sell it and make $1 million bucks. Right. I don't know.
Oh my goodness!
but you know, man, the Holy Spirit just keeps me going.
There we go. I mean, is it just a drive? Like
it's but well, you know, with me, I'll be honest with you. I feel art to me is just another form of expression. Sometimes even more than talking to people. You know, I'm generally an introvert, so you know. Yeah. So I communicate easier, you know, via, you know, art. Sometimes I have some ideas, and I'd rather, instead of telling people, I'd rather just do a painting and let the painting, you know, speak and, you know, about whatever it is that I have in mind. But that's the thing. I have a need.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's not a hobby to me. It's a form of expression. I think God gives you certain gifts. You know, and some are gifts that you can just use once in a while, but there's certain gifts that I think He's put in you, and they just kind of force themselves to come out, because if not, you're gonna explode if you don't use them, or they're gonna go, or they're gonna be taken away. You know, because that can happen as well. You know, so that's that. Man. Yeah. So it's you know, the balancing is just out of need more than anything. I mean, I don't know how I do it, but you know, I sure, you know, give my wife and kids a lot of time.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it. I feel like He's graced you with again balance. You know, again, Holy Spirit. Because you look at the hours on the clock. It's like there's no way. You're like between eating, sleeping, driving, working, you know, et cetera, et cetera. He makes it happen. It seems. You know, he's making those connections. I even see like just God's favor over you, God's favor over your life, because how you mentioned you're just working on your own stuff, and then someone recommended you for what was it, for Visions?
This one's for Visions.
For Visions, you know, when you said that, I was like, man, like God, that's God's favor, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we've even seen that too, where there's been different opportunities that have come our way because we just did this one project. You know, like we do video photography. So, you know, you go to an event, you meet more people, and someone else is like, oh, I'm interested. You know, those open doors come. You execute well. Now they're telling other people. It just opens doors, just not being afraid to jump into, you know, the gift that God called you to do. You know?
And, you know, that's very important, because I think a big key, if you want to do this as, you know, as an artist and just express your gifts, a big thing is to network. That's been my biggest thing is look, God can't open a door if you just keeping that gift to yourself. I mean, because no one's gonna know about it, So you talk to people, look, I've gotten to work with a lot of the people that inspired me when I was a teenager. I've been working on some of the things with the singer from the band Yes.
Wow, that's dope, yeah.
And so he's, we're friends, and our families know each other, and I would never have imagined that when I was a kid. But again, it was one of those things where like I sent my work out, and then he called back, and we were on the phone for like half an hour just discussing art and music, and and he even told me, he's like, oh, do you know what Yes Music is about? And I'm like, well, I have my ideas, but I'd love to hear from you because you wrote it. And he's like, well, Yes Music is about the search for God.
Yeah, nice, nice.
And I think that's why I connected with that music so much.
Wow, I love it. Now I want to give our people some practical, some practical steps, because we can talk about God's grace and favor and all that stuff, whatever. We also know that there are natural components and practicalities that go along with it. So, for example, you said putting your work out there for people to even see it and whatnot. What are some steps as an artist? Okay, so say I'm a visual artist and whatnot. Who do I connect with? What organizations or which people to get to the place where it's just like, now I have this whole network of people who are like already kind of out there. Like, what are the steps to push it? Like, for example, if I'm working on a musical track, I know where to go to get it published and different things like that. But as it relates to this specifically, who are the people that you kind of connect with,
Well, it's different with comics and, with galleries and stuff like that. But I'll be honest with you, if I'm not an expert, at this. I concentrate on creating, and the rest of it is secondary. But whatever gallery shows I have or I've had have been because I've reached out to galleries. So if you're an artist, at the beginning it's kind of hard. You're kind of shy about sending stuff out, right? But no, I mean, there's someone who's meant to see that work and give you a chance. Won't be able to do it if you don't send that work out, or if you don't, maybe you can visit galleries and have a little portfolio and say, oh, by the way, I'd just like to know if, you'd be interested in showing this kind of work. And, what can they say? No. And here in Chicago, it's kind of difficult for me because Chicago is a very, it leans towards more of an abstract aesthetic.
Okay.
But, that's why I had my shows in L.A., right? Places that are more, accepting of more figurative work.
Okay, here we go.
But, I mean, you just look for, do your research, see where your paintings or your artwork would fit best. Yeah. There's different neighborhoods also that have different types of galleries. So it's a matter of just kind of, doing your research.
Yeah, there we go.
And so
it's just really just putting yourself out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to put yourself out there. You can be the most amazing artist and creative in the world.
Yeah.
But if it's just stored in your basement, no one's
going to see it. No one's going to see it.
That's what it's all about, yeah.
And same thing with comics. Just go to Comic-Cons, comic shows, meet some of the editors, writers. And someone, again, the same thing, just like with Walter Koenig. I grew up watching Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan.
Yeah. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
No,
I love.
You know Star Wars too.
I love Star Wars.
Because people try to compare the two.
No. I think they're different. Okay. They're different. I think they speak to different parts of myself.
Okay. Yeah.
The childlike wonder, in me, it leans towards Star Wars. That whole mythology and the Jedi's and I've met like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher. But again, at comic book shows, it's like you go and you mingle and you get they're regular people. You get to know them and so. Just get out there and meet those people, show them your work, and something comes out of it. But if I have to be honest, I think I lean more towards Star Trek. I think as a larger kind of narrative, the aesthetic of the designs, the ships, the costumes, everything, the visual. As an artist, I lean towards Star Trek, and I've done like a digital comic for one of the productions of Star Trek. So I know a lot about that, and I think that's why this came. I saw an interview with Walter Koenig, and I grew up watching him and the. In Star Trek, he's the Russian guy, and
I never got in Star Trek yet.
Yeah,
I need to check it out. You gotta tell me where to start.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll talk after. And so, he wrote. There was an article, an interview, and he said he was going to work on some comics, and so, I just felt that I needed to send him the work. And we were like friends on Facebook, but I met him once at a show, and I had done storyboards for like a Star Trek like web series, so we had some connection, but nothing personal. Okay. And so, but I felt like I had to send him my work. I just felt called to do that. And that's when you were the Holy Spirit guides you listen. You better listen.
I know for real.
And then so he wrote to me half an hour later. Says, "I love your work. You're gonna get a call from my agent at 6:00 today. If that's cool." And the next day we were working together. I mean, it's just
that's what I'm talking about. Wow. That's insane. I absolutely love it. And I want to say this to the creatives, like really. You have to put yourself out there because opportunities can be missed. I want you to understand this. Like, God is gracious. God is patient. God is extremely helpful in the process as we are creatives. But sometimes he uses those moments to teach us, like, hey, some opportunities can be missed. Oh. And I'm telling you to get out there because there's a lot of people in the pool trying to get in that same spot. We see it all the time. Just like everybody, competing for the kind of the same thing. You have to put yourself out there. You just have to,
Yeah, I have a story about that, so I'll tell you in a moment, and I'll share it with you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Well, when episode 2, I think, was about to come out, of Star Wars, the prequels,
the prequels. Mm-hmm.
So, originally I wanted to be a model maker. Okay. That's like a hobby of mine, but I really did study, and I how to build these models to look like the ones from. I wanted to work for Industrial Light and Magic, doing the new Millennium Falcon or new ships from the. And but I also knew how to do concept art and storyboards, right? So I wanted to work for Lucasfilm, and I felt led to move out to California and apply. And man, and this is funny because you can find discouragement even within the church, even within the Christian organizations, right? Yep. And especially those were the ones that kept saying, "Oh no, don't move out there. It's too expensive. Don't move out there. Oh no, you should. I used to live there. Don't move there." And I listened to them. I didn't listen to God. I listened to them. And all the stuff that I was gonna send to Lucasfilm, and I had created some concept art and everything. I said, "Well, no," I shelved it. I put it away. And next,
why did you tell me this?
Well, I'm gonna tell you so you could, so you don't do it, and so you guys don't do it. And next thing I know, when the movie comes out, I'm seeing these designs. I'm like, wait a minute, this just looks just like the design that I came up with. Yeah. But they never saw it. But God, it was like, well, God was like, okay, well, I gave the idea to someone else because you missed your opportunity. Doesn't mean that God's not going to give you another opportunity. But for that moment, that was his moment where he needed you or he wanted you to. Because ultimately, it's not about the art. If he wants you to go somewhere or do something, ultimately it's for something that relates to him and his work in this planet and his glory. Amen. And so,
wow, that's insane. Oh, that story, man, really, that's going to stick with me. That's going to stick with me because there's been times where, what was it? Okay, so we have Landon has his channel, his YouTube channel, and we've actually started to get a couple people kind of reaching out for like reviews and little things like that, and then it was one of them that we took forever to finally do like a video for, and then we finally were about to record and keep them posted. They were like, okay, that specific item isn't the one that we're trying to like review any longer. I was like, no, but then after that they did reach out and say, hey, but we do have some more upcoming items and stuff that we would love. We're like, oh yes, so now we're like. That was awesome because it really showed me like, okay, now we're gonna be sharp with dates, sticking to the schedule, not letting anything else get in the way, even pushing through exhaustion or whatever the case, and making this stuff happen because you don't know how many, especially when these places have like a lot of followers and eyeballs kind of checking it out. That can bring the subscribers, bring the open doors and things like that. So you gotta just like when it comes, just do it, even in fear. I'm trying to teach that to my boys and stuff too. I mean, I know they're super young, but I want them to grow up just being confident. Yeah, just be confident. Even that's a question I want to ask you too. Even with messing up, I know a thing for me is like perfectionism. Yeah, I kind of see that. With the boys still the best. So I was like, okay, that's kind of me. Like it has to be perfect. But now I'm obviously at a place where I'm like, if I mess up, I can redo it. Whatever, So have you ever struggled with like perfectionism? How does that work with your work? Like. These look amazing, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't a smooth process throughout the whole thing. So it's like, how was it with like little hiccups? How do you transform those? Like, how does that work?
Well, with painting especially, I think I try to take any times, any imperfections. And see how I can make them work. And then the great thing is that you can just paint over them, So painting is an easy one to deal with those issues. But still, I mean, sometimes you paint so much that then you don't want to like erase everything. So I've always found a way to kind of maneuver. Okay, well, I'm not going to change this. I need to change one part, but I'll keep the other. And it's just a matter of. It's just the experience. Okay, well now it's like editing something. Okay, exactly. I want to get rid of the whole video, but I can rescue this and this and that, and then I'll just with a comic book it's a little more difficult because you have the stages of writing, and then you have the artwork. So I try to
it goes in line with the writing. So if this changes, then
the other changes. So I try to get everything done in the writing department
there we go.
First. Although I use a lot of like the Marvel comics method, which is what they used to do was have an idea because a lot of people think, and again, Stan Lee was great, but Jack Kirby did. The bulk of the work, Stan Lee was great at coming up with concepts, like with the Fantastic Four, right? He told Jack Kirby, okay, well, have the Fantastic Four fight God, and so Jack, okay, well, so he came up with Galactus, So okay, I can create a godlike being, and then he designed him. He drew the whole story. And then he gave it to Stan Lee, and then Stan Lee, then based on that, then he would write the words. But the story was already written by Kirby, So sometimes I will write visually first. I will do sketches, and these sketches kind of, I will rearrange them and create a story, and then I can write text around them, and then I draw them in a more formal. Because these comic book pages are really like 11 by 17. They're really big. Yeah. So that's that's how I approach this.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Wow, I love it. Okay, so what's something that you want to kind of share with the creatives to encourage them at the end, and then also on YouTube, Spotify, we kind of drop questions at the end, So what's something that you want to kind of leave them? What's a question or something that you want them to ponder on as they continue their creative journey?
Okay. A question that I would leave for all of you is how serious are you about your work? And there's not a right or wrong question, but some people would want to do their creative whatever creative process is, whether it's painting or drawing, or maybe they're musicians, and you're only willing to go to a certain level, right? And then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Do you want it badly enough to find a way to be able to balance it with the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And again, if you don't, it's okay. But just ask yourself, how much do you want to do this? And I think that'll help you to figure out if you want to make time for it or not. For some people, for me, I'd probably die without being able to express myself creatively in some way, because I think it's just God has made me like that. Even my sermons tend to be a little weird sometimes. I have my visual illustrations.
People taking notes, they're like, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah, exactly. And I'll bring in a lot of different things. And,
like props and things.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done like live painting, doing something. Like, well, you talked about Tony Rupert. Tony and I have done paintings, live paintings together. Yeah,
Tony's gonna be on here soon. So I'm excited.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. You'll love her. She's awesome. Yeah. So that's one thing. Just and also what else? Oh man, I don't know. That was mainly I think the big thing. Because it's something that I've had to ponder. Okay, how badly do I want to do this? Because for some people, they're okay, doing it for a little bit, and okay, I did it. I have to always keep challenging myself creatively. That's what I've done. I told you I had a band before. I said I've done painting, I've done comics, I've done storyboards, I've had a band. Because it's sometimes and this answers I hadn't thought about it, but this answers I think your question from earlier about how I do this with work, with a family. It's just that I don't do everything at once either. So if I'm working on some storyboards for a project, a movie or a series, I probably won't do any comic books or any painting during that time, because I don't want to burn myself out. That's the other thing. Please don't burn yourselves out. It's pace yourselves. And then once that's done, then I've got enough ideas for paintings. Then I'll paint for a month. And so
kind of pause on like storyboarding.
Yeah. Don't take any. I don't take any more storyboarding for a while, or any comic book work.
So
that helps
not
me.
Not putting too much on you.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's good.
Yeah. Because you do have to make time for your family. That's you have to be there for them, for your wife, for your kids. Art is not greater than people, than anyone in your life. I mean, that's God has you there for them and for the people, to love people, to serve people. Art is just maybe an expression, part of an expression of your soul, and so that's always become secondary. That's what you don't want to make any of it more important than any person. So that's the other thing.
I love it. Man, that is a perfect way to wrap it up. That was fantastic. Man, JC, man, this was amazing. I thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me on your show, man. It's an honor.
For sure, man. Thank you. So, guys, we're going to have all of the links related to what JC Baez has been working on, upcoming projects and all of that in the description. So make sure you check all of that out. Support my guy, purchase some of his pieces, share all of this. That'll be fantastic. And also remember, Creative Encounter, we are a ministry. We are a nonprofit. So we would love your support. If you become a monthly financial partner, that would be amazing. Helps us continue to do the podcast, interview musicians, artists, helps us to be able to have the events monthly and all of that, and just have so much outreach opportunity. So thank you so much once again for tuning into Creative Encounter. JC, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Sir. All right, I'll see you guys next time.